On the tee, the Knackered Golfist.
Oh, get in there. Nice.
All right, welcome to the Knackered Golfist Podcast. I'm your host, the Knackered Golfist, and I am driving to hopefully somewhere where I can hit some balls tonight. And it's Friday afternoon, Friday evening. It's the weekend of the ZOZO Championship, and those guys are in Japan this week. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to watch some of that tournament because we do have the Peacock channel, and we can watch the feed coming from the Golf Channel, and that'll be interesting because the few pictures and videos that I've seen of that golf course is absolutely immaculate. It's actually more immaculate looking than Augusta National is in its pristine time of year in April. And you got to think that October in Japan has to be a most glorious time of year to actually have an event like that because, you know, just the few pictures I've seen of that course, the greens sound extremely firm, and the contouring of the fairways and the actual, you know, you could see the TV towers and the power, the towers that are in the background, and they have, like, I think they're red and white, I think. The power line towers, those are so cool to see in the background. And I really hope it's Narashino Country Club in Chiba, Japan, I think. And I think that's where Isao Aoki is from. And it's really awesome to see that place on TV. And the folks that are going to that tournament are having a ball, and they're bringing these step stools to be able to see over one another, to be able to see what's going on. They got their camera phones out, and they're watching guys that are playing in that tournament, and it just looks unbelievable. You know, and what's also fascinating is that when I worked at Riviera, they tried to adopt this double green thing with the par threes. You know, the temporary greens at Riviera were the best temporary greens I've ever seen because I think all the par threes had them. You know, 16 and 14 were among the few. What was it? 3 and what's another par three? Oh, the sixth hole with the bunker in the middle of it. I think that did have a temporary green, and so those greens were maintained just like regular greens. And you know, temporary greens, you know, in every other golf course in California is absolute garbage. It's like hitting onto a fairway that has a hole cut out of it. That's actually a golf green plug size hole that the flag is in, and it's not in the natural. It's not in the green type of soil like the sand. That's the greens mix that's in the normal greens. So these greens are unbelievable. I think they actually have two types of grass that is you know, one for the sort of off-season green and then the other for the regular season green. And there are two types of grasses. I think one it's got to be cool season and warm season. And I think they have zoysia there, and I think they got to have bent grass. But it'd be fascinating to see how actually that is all laid out. And so I've always wanted to see that ZOZO Championship, and I think it's a great part of the schedule to be able to for these guys to go to Japan, and James Hahn isn't complaining about it. I think that's great. You know, you got Colin Morikawa there. There's a guy named Horikawa that's on the leaderboard. He was like second place or something yesterday when I saw the highlight show. And then Hideki's there, and he's sort of, it might be his first event of the year or first event of the season, but he's had a bit of time off from what I'm hearing the commentators say. And, you know, it was really cool to see that. see him, and it seems like the ball sounds different coming off of the club face. I don't know if that is superior microphones that they have on the course to record the sound and capture the video, capture the footage of the actual golf shots going on. So I think that's awesome. Really, really particular and elegant bunkering as well. Just the design of it is immaculate, in my opinion. It just looks immaculate on TV. And, Keegan Bradley's there to defend his win from last year. And Tiger won it a few years ago, and I can't remember if Hideki Matsuyama won it a few years ago as well, or the year before Hideki won it, or the year before, what's his name? The guy, I just forgot his name. The guy, Keegan Bradley. The guy that almost got into a fight with Miguel Angel Jimenez in San Francisco at Harding Park during that President's Cup. Or no, it was during that match play thing. So anyway, looking forward to watching that this weekend. That's, other than big football games that are going on this week, there's that on the PGA Tour, and looking forward to that. So I think they went from Jackson, Mississippi last week they went from Las Vegas last week to Japan to have that tournament. So I think that's pretty amazing. That's a big leap across the Pacific Ocean. And so what's crazy is that when they're broadcasting the tournament, I think the coverage on the Pacific Coast here starts at 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's actually the next day. It's going to be the Saturday coverage. It's going to be tonight, and that's what that's how they did the Japanese Grand Prix when I saw it on Speed Channel many years ago from Suzuka, and I just love that. I would love to visit there, and I would love to play golf in Japan. And I did watch that movie Lost in Translation a few weeks ago, and there's this beautiful, amazing shot of Mount Fuji in the background. It's almost like the Paramount Mountain kind of thing. And you got Bill Murray coming up to the tee and doing a couple practice swings, and then he pipes this drive down the middle. It's got a little tiny bit of a fade on it, and it's just immaculate to see that, because he had such a. Back then, it was 2003 or 2002 when they made that, and it was really cool that they actually got some footage of him playing golf, and that's got to be a highlight in somebody's life to be able to play golf in Japan. Just the meticulous care that goes into taking care of a landscape there, at like a Japanese garden or a golf course for that matter. It's just got to be so immaculate to see all that, and it's like a private Augusta National style golf course, and good Lord, who knows how much the tickets cost to go to that. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about it. So anyway, I am stuck in traffic here driving through good old Roseville, California, and it's Friday afternoon, Friday evening. We got some traffic. We got a big rig here to my left, and I'm excited. I'm getting fired up for a little bit of golf here. I'm just going to go hit some balls at hopefully Sacramento National, and the sun is setting right at about 6:30 now, and October is the last month to be able to do any kind of golf after work at all. There is the possibility of maybe picking up from Mr. Producer from where he is at, all day, and then maybe bringing him home, and then maybe doing a hop, skip, and a jump over to the local golf course to get a quick 18 in before the sun goes down. But that probably won't happen. Even if I try to do that, I may get 9 holes in. But who wants to play 9 holes? I'd rather play 18 holes. I'm an 18-hole kind of person. So anyway, I had a few things happen this week where golf-related that were interesting. I did listen to the most recent TalkinGolf podcast that was presented by Connor T. Lewis and posted on the Society of Golf Historians page on Facebook, where he talks about it's actually the third and final episode of the rise and demise of the Ben Hogan Golf Company, and I think that there was a lot of things. There was a few things that were left out of it that I found to be, why the heck didn't they include that, and why wasn't it talked about? And so I did a little dissertation on it on a drive to work one Wednesday morning that I was fired up about it, and it kept me awake from being tired from the night before. But there were a few things left out. There were they didn't talk about Tom Kite winning the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach with Hogan golf equipment, and they didn't talk about, at the time, Pebble Beach was owned by, I think it was called Cosmo World, that owned the company, or owned the golf course. And, at the time also, Cosmo World also owned the Ben Hogan Golf Company. And so for that company to endorse Tom Kite, the greatest player to ever play without winning a major at the time, in 1992 at Pebble Beach, was just, it had to be such an unprecedented thing. It had to be, because nobody really talked about it in the way it should have been. I mean, I thought that if the company that you're playing for owns the actual golf course you're playing at, that has to be one of the rarest things in sports. It's like somebody who owns the Indianapolis 500, is endorsed by the company that is also owned by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and that person just happens to win the Indianapolis 500. I mean, can you believe that? I mean, that's got to be a statistical anomaly kind of thing. I mean, there's got to be like an entry in the Guinness Book of World Records on that, because who knows? Who knows if that kind of thing has ever happened before? And so that intrigued me, and that wasn't talked about. And I find it to be, it should have been included. And so at the time, yeah, and that was his only major. And Tom Kite, that was his only major win, and he played that tournament with Persimmon Woods and Forge Blades, and he played with the Titleist Tour Velada, as far as I know, and he won that tournament. He won it, and it was over like Colin Montgomery and Jeff Sluman, I think. And then Nick Faldo was probably at the bottom of the first page of the leaderboard. So anyway, and I think Paul Azinger might have been in there on the hunt in that too. So anyway, that's interesting. There's also another thing where, I heard a story somewhere where it was said that Bernard Langer used Ben Hogan Apex shafts in his Wilson Staff Tour blades to win the Masters, either in 85 or in 93. And it's like, why wasn't that talked about? And that had to be a big deal, because after thinking about it later, Ben Hogan won the Masters as well. It's like, what do you do when you're at that Champions dinner and you're like, oh, so you won the Masters with my shafts in my competitor clubs? And so I was thinking about it after I talked about it. Hogan at that time didn't really have a lot of competition. They didn't have the club manufacturers of today, competing with him. There was no Callaway, there was no TaylorMade, there was no Cobra, or of course you had Titleist, you had Wilson, you had McGregor, you had Mizuno, I think at the time. You also had Ping, but I don't know if there was a tour player in that day that was actually playing the Ping I-2 out on tour. I don't know if Mark Calcavecchia was doing that or not, because I think at the time I don't know. I think he did win the British Open with Ping I-2 beryllium copper irons, but I mean, who knows? I don't know about that. And so that was really interesting. And what year was it? Was it 85 or was it 92? And so Bernard Langer, used a Persimmon wood as well, a Persimmon driver. He used that Wood Brothers think it was earlier this year when I was waiting for my car to get serviced. That was a fascinating article. I think it was like in Golf Magazine or Golf.com published it on Facebook or something, and I read the whole thing. And Mr. Wood is, I guess he's living down in Mexico, and he's doing art or something like that. He's not really doing Persimmon Woods anymore, and those Wood Brothers Persimmon Woods are really valuable now, I think. So anyway, there's that. And then there's another thing where they talked a little tiny bit about the Ben Hogan Apex golf ball, and I think at the time, so I got to mention this. So Jeff Sheets was a guy that designed the Ben Hogan Apexes from 1999, and he was also involved with Founders Club Golf, and they were back in the early 90s. They made these Series 200 blades that Lee Jansen used to win the '93 U.S. Open, and they also made those judge irons that had the sort of half-circle muscle backs on the back of those cavity-back irons. And so those were awesome, and I was at Play It Again Sports the other day, and I saw a set of those, and I'm like, oh, man, those are tempting. And that was after they sold a set of the Mizuno Grads they had in there. I was like, man, what happened to those? Anyway, but I'm happy with my goosenecks. Anyway, so you have Jeff Sheets being involved with Founders Club, and then I guess the progression went along for the next, 5 to 8 years, something like that. He ends up at Spalding that bought Hogan, and Hogan made these Ben Hogan Apex irons that probably were they could be the last, or one of the last versions of the Apex that were produced by the manufacturing, whoever it was that manufactured them. I think they said they were endo-forged from Japan, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't remember off the top of my head, but, they were also talking about how Callaway is using the Apex name and putting it on its irons, and I think it's actually kind of blasphemous to do that, because you can't have, first of all, it's not a blade, and what Callaway always makes is like a cavity back something or other that has any kind of cavity back on it that's infused with some sort of like carbon fiber or graphite in the sweet spot or the muscle back of it. And it just doesn't, I've never really been a fan of Callaway irons or Callaway golf equipment in general. I am a fan, though, of the early stuff, like the Bobby Jones Woods and the Bobby Jones cast irons. And the very first version, the Callaway Big Bertha and the Callaway Great Big Bertha. Anything after that, I wasn't really a fan of. And so there's that, and it's like, there's got to be the hardliner Ben Hogan aficionados that will not accept that Callaway has the name Apex on their irons, because that is the Ben Hogan product that they made so great. It was such a brilliant, and it was such the way the Ben Hogan company was able to match the head with the shaft back in the 80s and 90s was unsurpassed. It just wasn't. Nobody was able to do that better than the Ben Hogan company, and you had Ben Hogan's blessing when he was alive, when all this stuff was made while he was alive. It was actually, I think it was better, but of course I'm hearing that these Ben Hogan Apexes from '99 that Jeff Sheets was involved in was like the cream of the crop kind of irons, on level with whatever Ben Hogan made back when he was alive. And so anyway, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and they're saying also now that the Ben Hogan company is going to be resurrected again after filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy a few years ago when they were they were trying to make clubs, and they were trying to put the lofts on the irons instead of the iron number kind of thing. And so anyway, that was interesting, and it'll be good. It'll be good to have the Ben Hogan company name out there again, and God forbid they actually God forbid that they put a bunch of technology on it, and God forbid that they take all of the feel and all of the soul out of the iron and make it into this data-driven piece of something that isn't really a Ben Hogan golf club. You know, if they take it and make it look like some of the stuff that's out on the market today, it will be an abomination. It really will. You gotta have the design of the iron that can be on par and similar to the stuff that he used to make, that Hogan used to make. If they're going to have the license, if the company that's making this stuff has the license, you got to honor what Hogan would have liked. You got to honor what Hogan would have produced for the golfing public. And you can't dishonor Ben Hogan by making it look like an abomination. So that's all I'm saying. You know, make it good looking, make it sexy, you know, make it look like a Ben Hogan iron that it used to be, and put a good shaft on it and make it reasonably priced for somebody like me to maybe buy. You know, I don't know. But I mean, you know, they talked about a bunch of stuff like this online to consumer thing that's going on right now. I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, so then there's this Ben Hogan Apex golf ball thing that they talked about, and I always thought that it was either the Ben Hogan Apex ball or the Top Flight Strata was involved in the design and the genesis of the Pro V1. I always thought that was a big deal, and that Ben Hogan Apex ball was, I guess, a ball that they used to use on tour, because I always thought Titleist, and I mean, this was like mid-90s, okay, or mid to late 90s. You know, I thought it was Titleist, I thought it was Max Fly, and I don't think Callaway produced the ball back then, but like, I think it was basically Max Fly and Titleist were the only balls on tour that were used by the tour players. And so you take Jim Furyk winning the 2003 U.S. Open, and they were saying also that the company folded 25 years after Hogan passed away, or no, wait, what was it? No. The company. Oh, what was that? No, it wasn't that. It was 25 years after he passed away is when the company folded again. So that's what they were saying. So that was the sad bit about that. So after just a few months after Furyk won the U.S. Open at Olympia Fields, the company folded. It was bought by Callaway. No, Spalding went out of business, and then Callaway got the rights to it, and they started making Hogan stuff. And anyway, it was a great episode, and like I said before, they didn't cover all the topics that I would have liked it to cover. And you know, the next episode they might do, I heard, was going to be about the Live Tour. But I mean, I'd really like to hear the story of why Founders Club went away. I mean, they're still in existence now, but they're not really making that good quality stuff. I mean, there's that. There's Cubic Balance. There's like Liquid Metal. What's another golf brand that's gone? You know, whatever happened to RAM? You know, RAM made really good stuff, and they have, you know, this. I mean, Steve Kovich will like this. You know, the Tour Grind Axials that he was really talking high about when he was doing a post a couple days ago. The RAM Tour Grind Axials. Oh my gosh. I think I'm sticking with my goosenecks, but I do still have that set of the Axials. So anyway, I'm at my destination. I came to Sacramento National, and I'm going to hopefully stomach how the balls are here. And hopefully I'll be able to hit some good balls, and hopefully they'll have dimples on them, and hopefully they will be good quality, and I'm not going to be ripped off with this thing, because I'm going to have to use I got to use the simulators. I don't want to use the simulators. Oh, man. All right, thanks for listening, folks. Have a blessed day, and always spend your money wisely. Thank you for listening, and good night. All right, welcome to Driving Home from Sacramento National. Had a good time tonight. This is the first time in a while. I think it's been over a year since I've been on this side of the range at night on a Friday night, and it was so gorgeous outside. The sunset was spectacular, and the lingering sun going down below the equator was absolutely spectacular. Because there's and the beautiful moon was out. It's like a crescent-shaped banana, whatever, moon. Just gorgeous. And it's still 82 degrees, and I'm not fazed by it. So anyway, I had a good time at the range. The range at Sacramento National, they have the top tracers that don't work. And I spent $24 for a bucket of balls at Sacramento National, and it's a bit of highway robbery, but I think the quality was there. They had the Strixon Marathon range balls predominantly. The last time I hit balls here, they were using the Bridgestone range balls that were pretty good, and I was hitting them in the back of the range. But tonight I was hitting some really good ones. I brought out the gooseneck irons, and I had a contraption that I brought with me to hold my phone to make a video and record, my swing. And I got to. It was so fascinating because I made connections with people that were club enthusiasts, and there's this gentleman, George, that came over and really liked. And so I brought out two clubs that I got this week. I got it's a Callaway, how should I say this, a Callaway S2H2 driver that was probably from very early 90s, if not late 80s. And it was the one, it had a one stamped on the bottom of it, and it was a 12-degree driver. And it had one of those, all the shafts in it. And it was I think the flex was regular, and so I got it at Goodwill this week. I think I got it last weekend. And then I hit that, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was pretty decent, I guess, for an old club like that. And like I said, it's over 30 years old, and it still pretty much works. I mean, I wish the shaft was a strong shaft because that was a better shaft for my swing, but you get what you get at Goodwill. But I mean, it's still good. It's still, that club could have gone into a beginner golfer's hands and made their day, And the length of the shot that you hit. I mean, I was hitting fades a lot, and it was really looking pretty good. I hit some good ones. The tee was a bit the tee was a bit of a bugger, but I just hit it off the turf like a fairway would, and it worked out pretty well. For a 30-plus-year-old club. And then I got out this other club that I got, which was a Ping tie-side driver. It was the titanium eye-side driver that had the Larry Bobka created UST Laker shaft. It was the Pro 465 shaft that was in this Ping tie-side driver. It was a 10-degree, or it is a 10-degree. And so I start hitting this driver, and I'm launching it. I'm hitting it. The face is sort of pronounced outwardly. I think it's not more. It's not. It's a driver that has more of an outward kind of a face on the driver. And so I was trying to figure out how to address the ball and to not really hit such a pronounced fade, if not a slice, with that driver. And I was swinging that pretty good. And so I started hitting that driver, and this 10-degree was just launching the ball in the air. It was just great. And so when I hit a couple good ones, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. And so this gentleman comes over and he says, "Hey, what's that driver you're hitting?" You know, and I said, "Hey, no, yeah, it's a ping tie side driver," and I showed it to him, and he's like all into my clubs, and he's like, "Man, I know what that is, and that's the Wilson goosenecks, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I used to have a set of those, and those were the older version ones with the Wilson staff emblem in the middle of the sweet spot behind the iron." He said he had a set of those. And this guy's name is George, and him and I had a good conversation about stuff. And so he brought over a couple of irons that he had. He had a Ben Hogan, what did he call it? It wasn't the Pro Choice, a Passion Choice. The PC isn't for professional choice. It's for pronounced choice or Passion Choice, I think. And it was weird because I really thought those were called professional choice. The PCs were like the hardest club to hit that Hogan ever created. And, you know, he was talking about the PCs being the greatest Hogan iron ever made, you know. And I had a set of those back when I was a kid. I had them with the 3-shaft, and I didn't know anything about loft and lie. And I wore out the equalizer wedge, and I had that refinished by Doug Oughton many years ago. And I'm the one that put X300s in that set, Dynamic Gold X300s. And somebody, you know, that was a shaft that was way too stiff for those. So I wish I had them with the 4-shaft in them. So anyway, him and I started talking, and then he brings out this Hogan Producer stainless steel 6-iron, and both of them were 6-irons, and I hit the snot out of that stainless steel Hogan Producer, and that was a amazing club. That was from the mid-70s, and it was like, oh my God, the launch that you got with that thing in the air, it just felt like butter, you know? It was great. Cutting through butter for a hot biscuit. You know, that was awesome. That was awesome. So anyway, so he let me hit a few clubs of those, and then him and I continued to talk about stuff, and he's trying to buy my driver, trying to buy my irons and stuff. I'm like, no, I think I'll keep them, you know, and so then I sort of continued hitting balls, and I had it all recorded. I had it all recorded, and so you'll see that, you'll hear it, you know, our little conversation, and so it was really cool. I was bringing fellow club enthusiasts together. The guy next to me was hitting Hanma irons, and then the guy a few stalls down from me was hitting Miura blades, and I'm like, dude, are those Miuras, you know? And he starts talking about them, and I'm like, congratulations, you own a set of Miuras. You are in a class by yourself. So anyway, he was having a ball with those. And, you know, it was great, you know, $24 for a bucket of balls, and yet you get all these enthusiasts out there talking about clubs. And that's what's great about that night was everybody started coming over and talking, and that's, like, so rare in golf is that people are open to, like, come over and say hello and express interest in the equipment you're using and stuff. It's almost like going to a Carson Coffee event where you show off your old car, your old classic, you know, luxury car or sports car or roadster or muscle car, whatever it is. It's like, man, isn't that cool? You know, it's like, and then you give them a test drive in it, but like you let him hit your clubs, and so then he walks away. And I forgot, it's like, wait, I just hit his clubs. He's got to hit this driver. And so I said, hey, do you want to come back and hit my driver? He's like, yeah, let me hit it, you know. And then he hit my ping driver, and then he hit my S2H2 driver. And it was just great. It's just, we had a ball out there. And so, awesome times. And then we were talking a little bit more, and then his buddies came over. Larry and Paul came over, and we had a conversation about stuff. I shared with them about my podcast and about my YouTube channel, and those guys came over, had a picture with them, and those guys were cool. And then another guy, and then those guys went to go back and watch the World Series or the ALDS, whatever it is, and it was awesome. It was an awesome night. I never thought that at a golf course or at a driving range people would be that interested in golf clubs and just be willing to chat, be willing to talk about what's going on. You know, what clubs are you hitting? How do you like them? How do they feel? You know, do they make you feel all warm and fuzzy when you hit them? You know, it's like, oh my God, that's cool. And that's like the engagement that I've been so wanting to experience in golf that I have experienced in auto racing and historic auto racing, but just the golf guys are so into their deal, they're so into their practice and their regimen, and they're like, don't disturb me, I'm trying to practice, you know. But it's like these guys were so cool, and that was what's cool about it's the driving range of Hagen Oaks. I call it Sacramento National because it's like a love-hate relationship that I have with that place. They sort of gouge people for coming to hit balls, and then they gouge them for, you know, equipment and stuff, and so this time I actually had a good time, and it was a beautiful night with a little bit of a breeze, and it was really something. It was just really something, and so walked away with that. I made a Steve Kovich video before I started hitting balls, and Steve Kovich is so awesome. He posted a video of his round going into the senior club championship at his golf club. I think it's down in North Carolina. And he's saying, all right, guys, what do I use, the ping putter or do I use the Arnold Palmer 8802 style putter? You know, he's like asking everybody about it. I'm like, dude, use that Arnold Palmer putter. So anyway, I made a little Steve Kovich video, and that got everybody excited, and so it was cool. You know, I love the engagement with folks on the Forge Golf Appreciation page on Facebook. You know, if you're interested, come on and just answer a few simple questions. You know, what's your favorite? Who's your favorite golfer? What is your favorite set of forged blades or forged irons, whatever? And you know, you'll be admitted to that page. And so, you know, a lot of folks come on and they don't answer the questions, and I can't accept them. So you got to be able to answer the questions in order to get on. So anyway, it was a really good night, and so I hit that ping driver a little bit more, and then there's something about, you know, the feedback that you get from people that are actually watching you hit shots, because you got to wait. You got to go there and you got to wait for your stall, and the only downside is that we had a really good conversation. I shared my website and my podcast with two other guys that were watching me hit balls, and they're like, man, you were hitting that ball over there like 10 in a row or whatever, and so it was cool. It was really cool. So anyway, I'm about to get a little bite to eat here, so if you ever come to Citrus Heights, California, Adalberto's Mexican food is a really good place. This episode brought to you by Adalberto's. No. Anyway, had a really good time at Sacramento National. And I'm going to sneeze. So anyway, thanks again for listening. And listen to my podcast. Watch my YouTube channel. This is going to be another podcast entry. I figured out something on my phone that will help me podcast a bit more. I know this sounds like a phone call, but it's actually easier for me to put out stuff more regularly to keep fans engaged. If they are fans, or if you are interested in listening to this, thank you. I appreciate the engagement with the stuff. You know, like, share, and subscribe, and if you can, please write a comment on the website, or if you could make a comment on iTunes or a comment on the iTunes, because I've never had a comment for this podcast. If anybody would like to do that, I'd appreciate it. You know, like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel and also the podcast. So, all right, folks, thanks so much for listening.
Oh, get in
This
there.
is the Knackered Golfist Radio Network.